We are so back.
Yeah.
Does not seem like the market is though. So we are grinding, man. Chris, what do you got to say this morning? Something on your mind?
What's good? Man, I mean, you know, crypto is not for the faint of heart, but we're going to show up every day like we have been for the best part of a decade. So, you know, the show goes on. This is the craziest industry in the entire world. It's the best.
Yeah, actually, so I got lunch yesterday with one of my friends I hadn't seen in a while who used to throw a crypto event and then has pivoted to something outside of crypto, creating like a I guess kind of creating like a tokenized network kind of thing with entrepreneurs. And man, even her circle of people that she's trying to build is tough. Like I was trying to explain to her what Emblem does and kind of everything else that's going on inside of meme coins, and they're in the industry, but in a completely other side of it. And they said that they can't even keep up with what's going on, like with the
So
trading aspect of it.
you're eating lunch in this environment? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and we've upgraded from protein shakes to actually going out to lunch.
Jesus, bro, treat yourself, man.
Treat yourself, live a little.
Yeah, it's been a good time. Yeah, it's always good to catch up with some friends here. Speaking of conferences, we're going to be out in Denver 2 weeks from now. I'm excited for that. It'll be our first ever completely team meetup. So if anyone's out there at ETH Denver, please reach out to us. We're going to have a lot of fun today.
100%.
Yeah. Adam, first and foremost, before we do get in discussions, congrats on Bell's coin is on Ghosty Swap now.
Let's
go. Seems to be like a huge plus.
It's funny, we were chatting right before the show. I was like, I don't know when I asked those guys. I DM'd them. I think it was like literally like right after we had them on the show. And I don't know. I have to look it up. It's got to be 8 months ago. Right. But they finally got it done. It's like, damn, 8 months too late, But hey, it's a good, just another way to onboard people. I've used Ghosty a bunch. It's kind of like, for anybody unfamiliar with it, it's like Change Now, I think was the other one I used to use back in the day. Is that the one? Yeah. Dogfest. But it just allows you to send in any crypto and then they get you bells on the other side. So it's just like the easiest onboarding experience. You can do it basically anonymous. They anonymize it. They know who you are, but the outside world. So if you want to get a fresh wallet or something like that, it's a great service. They obviously charge a fee. But for just ease of use, 2 minutes, you can have some bells. It's love those guys. Great product.
I use Ghosty Cash like weekly at this point. It's pretty good.
Especially when I went to base, whatever you want to do base, I'm like, how do I even get it to base? I don't even know. You know what I mean? Even the simple ones, where you could figure it out, but I just don't even want to get involved in figuring it out. I just want it in my wallet. Like, it's a great product.
Yeah, I put this post out, I think it was over the weekend, and I was like, why would anybody use a bridge when you can just use a cross-chain swap and not have to deal with the wait time? Like, what is the
one of the best crypto products is the atomic swaps. That's one of the best easy to use crypto products. I use it all the time.
Yeah, completely. I don't know why anybody would ever want to use a bridge there. We need to do it with NFTs. The emblem swap one day, the wallet swap.
100%.
It's been kind of a slow week, to be honest, but the one major thing that's been going on, obviously kind of in our sphere, is the dog domination. I was actually quite intrigued by it. I mean, it's nothing new to us. This is something that we've been talking about for years now at this point for Emblem, but just kind of see the largest rune community now basically signal that this is going to be their intention to try to be listed on every single DEX, on every single blockchain, more exposure, new communities. Seems like the dog community is very supportive of this. Seemed like anybody outside of the dog community kind of hated it for some reason. Adam, what's your first thoughts on Leo kind of leading the charge here? With the thesis that we hold. I think Tio talked about this the other day, of just basically issuing assets on Bitcoin and then moving them to a different environment to leverage the strengths of that chain.
Yeah, I think it's we've kind of felt this way for years now. It's a no-brainer. Good to see. I mean, Leo obviously is involved, history of Ethereum and knows about Emblem and knows the technology. So he's well aware of it. I mean, I think ideally, yes, everybody would have wanted runes to work natively on Bitcoin, obviously. But it just hasn't, right? And, maybe it doesn't work on other chains as well. Maybe it doesn't work. That's possible. But trying to give it the best chance for success, I think, is, the arguments against it, I hear, and actually the most solid is like, no, we need to build this, the transactional layer on Bitcoin or, Bitcoin, L2 or whatever, just to get people active there. And if they're not active there, basically these are going to die. That's possible. But we've seen it again and again. That's not the way it works. People just want the best kind of trading experience. And if they like the underlying asset, they'll trade basically anywhere if there's money to be had. So I guess that's the real question with Dog. Say it goes to Solana, right? Is that necessarily a good thing? Maybe then you get real price, like the real price, and the real price might be, $25 million, or it might be $5 million, right? If you get real market activity, rather than this kind of encumbered trading experience on Bitcoin, which maybe keeps price artificially high. Don't know. So, I mean, this is part of the thing. We get to experience what happens. I mean, there feels to me like there definitely are certain trading experiences that support price better than others. Solana is obviously the worst for supporting price. It seems like Base, for example, price does somehow maintain a little bit better on Base than it does on Solana. That's just like my gut feeling on it. But Solana may be the real price, and it's going to be fun to see what happens here with Dog.
So Leo even noted Emblem Vault in the story, story number 2 of the reason why he decided to do this. And so the kind of short version here is, he said he bought his first Bitcoin NFT in 2021 from a counterparty collection called Spells of Genesis, which is part of his PFP, but he didn't buy it on Bitcoin L1. He actually bought it through Emblem Vault on OpenSea. I had the same experience. I know Adam does. I've also saw a bunch of people in the replies say they've had a very similar experience of buying Rare Pepes or Spells of Genesis on OpenSea through Ethereum, and then eventually led them down to learning more about, native Bitcoin and eventually trading on chain. And, this is kind of one of his thesis, is that if you put a buy button on a different chain, then it makes it easy for those native users to interact with that collection. And then if they're interested, right, and if they want to bridge it back to the L1, then they're going to have to learn on their own how to do that. What we've come to find out is through Emblem Vault, you have about 9 of 10 vaults never are unvaulted. So you have about a 10% withdrawal rate. So, if you're looking at it through the NFT perspective, you're saying 10% of all bridged assets will eventually return home. So 10% of users. So if you, expound that to Dog's case, and Dog has 100,000 holders, and if you can increase that, double that to 200,000, then you say potentially 10,000 people will learn about native Bitcoin trading, which to me is probably double the size of people trading natively right now.
I mean, the one thing I would say, I guess maybe Bitcoin punks are a great example of when you actually do get a migration back. And you'll get a migration back, for example, just to lay it out for people who don't know, Bitcoin punks happened. It's ordinal. Everybody basically put it in an Emblem Vault to try and trade these things. And so there were a lot traded through Emblem Vault. But then the trading experience for ordinals got way better, and it was on Magic Eden and stuff. And so most of the volume started to happen actually on Magic Eden as native ordinals. So people started unvaulting. Like, that's the one outlier that shows, like, hey, if you actually build a better system, on the native chain, people will then migrate back. But it has to be, I mean, money is always the kind of motivating factor there.
The question then becomes, first, you think about this. I've been thinking about this from multiple perspectives, and I'm actually going to tweet a lot about this because ultimately we're a little biased, but a successful Dog cross-chain ecosystem is like incredibly bullish to Emblem Vault, right? It's like, if you're used to trading Bitcoin fungible assets, across chain, then eventually you're going to do the same thing with NFTs. But also I find it a little bit more fascinating because there's kind of a few new dynamics to this. You think about, what fungible tokens or cryptocurrencies have had success moving cross chain with a large community. Really, it's only Bitcoin, I guess, right? Like WBTC. I was actually quite surprised that ETH hasn't really been bridged over to Sol, or Sol hasn't really been bridged over to ETH in like very large amounts. I'm talking about like actual large penetration rate. But here you have Dog that is about 50% of the entire Rune's market cap, maybe a little bit less now, but it kind of goes back and forth. But is also probably more than 50% of the owners, the unique owners who are actually participating in this. And in DeFi on Ethereum, you see this idea of mercenary capital. Justin Sun is probably like the biggest example here. So I'll just use him in this example. For a long time, Justin Sun would move hundreds of millions of dollars of ETH or even billions of dollars to these new DeFi protocols in just a pure attempt to farm the ecosystem. So you're farming the new token, or you're farming the astronomically high APY, and then it has the complete intention to have that as a limited. You have it parked, that capital parked there for a limited amount of time to farm the ecosystem, and then eventually leave and dump the token into oblivion, and then eventually the protocol dies. And here you have a different dynamic to where instead of having one individual or a handful of whales, you have literally almost the entire ecosystem who's on board. And so you have to kind of coordinate, right? From Dog's perspective, they're not migrating. It's not mercenary capital. It's actually more kind of like migrant capital. Like it's looking to kind of set up a new shop somewhere to where this new protocol suits their needs. And so you kind of have this potentially win-win situation to where Dog can move to this new protocol swap, whatever it ends up being, to suit their needs. And then this protocol also will generate the swap fees because now you have this community who's participating in it. The interesting part is the social coordination here, whereas I'm actually curious to see what the percentage is of people who will follow Leo to whatever chain, he kind of says, hey, this is going to be the first place that we stop. And then also if that's not successful, if that capital then can also get up and kind of pack up shop and then migrate again to a different situation. And historically with kind of bridged assets, there's this idea of like liquidity fragmentation to where if you set up LPs on 4 different chains, so if you have a swap on and an LP pool on Base, on Solana, on Cardano, I'm just using these example on Stacks, right? There's this arbitrage opportunity between all of them, which could be beneficial, could also be negative, because eventually capital is efficient and it generally will pool in the most efficient market possible. So as we kind of present this, obviously there's multiple layers to it. Chris, what's like kind of your first thought about something like this? Is this something that's ever been seen before in crypto, and just kind of what's your first general thoughts?
This is like market maturity. This is natural evolution. We have this funny way of completely complicating these things because it's digital assets. As a retailer or as a product seller, your job is to get max distribution. That's what you want. You want to sell the product. The brand is Bitcoin. The product is the asset on Bitcoin, and you're distributing it far and wide, as far as wide as you can. If you have a product that you're selling online, well, if you're selling it in the physical world, you want to get it online. If you have it online, you want to get it into Amazon. You want to get it into the hands of the world's largest retailer. So for these communities to be fighting natural evolution is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. It makes no sense at all. Of course you want the asset to be everywhere. And of course they should be. So I think it's just the natural progression of the industry. It's good to see it kind of maturing. You talked about how capital will flow to the most efficient place. That's totally true. But you want to get these things in the hands of everyone. And the best way to do that is these retailers, quote unquote, are going to be on chain. And it's funny that these Bitcoiners take this stance that they only deal with, sovereign assets that they bought off chain when all of them bought their Bitcoin off centralized exchanges. Every single one of them, 99.9% of them did. So like, what are they talking about that they're grandstanding on everyone, saying that this asset is pristine and it can't move off chain when they're the ones that bought their assets off chain? It's completely ridiculous. We're moving in the right direction and I love to see it.
Dogfather, what's your take on the situation? I know you've been covering it for a little bit. What are your thoughts?
GM. So I'm using my laptop today. Can you hear me? Just checking my setup.
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, cool. So I see that I can even.
I gotta say, it may be better than normal.
I can even raise my hand here, man. This is high tech now here, Twitter. This is awesome. That took a while. I mean, I'm completely with you guys. I mean, Chris, you nail it. I mean, you know, the main obstacle to runes is obviously the UX is horrible for most traders. If you bring it to a chain where you can trade on Phantom and have fun, or if you have it on Binance where you can also click a button and buy without bothering with sniping and, you know, these blocks and whatnot, it doesn't matter, right? It's just like also not. I mean, whether it's on Gate.io or whether it's on Solana bridge, that doesn't matter. It's not on L1. You have more buy buttons, so I only see upside here. I mean, maybe there is some more volatility, but who cares? I mean, look, what Leo has to do is to move forward and try stuff. I mean, it's not on Coinbase, it's not on Binance yet, so he has to do something. I mean, you cannot tweet for 3 more months when Binance, please Binance, everyone is unfair to us, and whine and you know and complain. No, you have to do something, and that's the only thing he can do. I mean, this is already something that the Pups team and others did. You have to move to the chain where all the degens trade 24/7, and that's what he's doing. I mean, and people even earn a bit by providing liquidity. So what the heck? I mean, everyone who's not a pure Rune maxi and wants to go down with this ship is of course supporting that, and I'm supporting everything that helps spreading these buy buttons.
Yeah, there's a few layers to this. You have like the infrastructure layer, the cultural layer, and then obviously the practicality. I forget who I was talking with this in one of my replies. Somebody, I guess you'd say the disagreement, or what I've seen people kind of frame this as betrayal of betraying the layer one, right? They're migrating, they failed on Bitcoin. I put this example out yesterday that if you take an American car and import it to Europe and you drive around a Tesla, it's still an American car, right? It's not a European vehicle.
No, it's not anymore. It changes the whole infrastructure. Of course it is. Like, these people are ridiculous.
It's like if you take a Japanese yen and go spend it in Korea, it's still the Japanese yen. It's like that has not changed.
You buy it for the properties of the product, right? The properties of Bitcoin are in dog. You take the German car, it doesn't become a Japanese car because it's in Japan. It's crazy talk.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so what I was responding, and this was one of the builders, and they were kind of discussing or kind of, I guess, extrapolating that maybe they have to move on from the Bitcoin ecosystem. And I was like, well, if you're a Bitcoin builder, my thought was, this only increases the opportunity. I would not be surprised if 2-3 months from now you see 10 different bridges funded by VCs, because if this becomes, you know, the standard, or whoever can build this kind of pipeline of bridges, and we've had a few of these teams already on our show, like that's just a fee generator, right? And obviously if Dog is very successful in this, which I think they will be, I think there is going to be probably a 6-month kind of experimentation window until they figure out what's most efficient. Then you're going to have to build this crazy pipeline of different plumbing of moving these assets to different areas. I know Rune Mine we've had on here is working on that. Omnity Network we've also had on this show is working on that. I would not be surprised if a few months from now there's literally 10 of these people competing for not just Dog, but for, you know, all these other assets, and, you know, potentially Emblem. I mean, this is why we put keys in a founder vault and said we're going to unlock it in Q3. Is our thought. We kind of just front run this narrative was, hey, I'd love to issue this on Bitcoin, and then because Runes or Bitcoin doesn't have native liquidity pools, we'll then decide where we want to set up shop 9 months from now, once the Rune ecosystem figures out what's the best, once the infrastructure is better, or if Emblem just has to build our own bridge, which we've taken all into consideration. So it's really just kind of forming out to what we had predicted. And I'm excited that now the community is kind of moving forward. What do you think, Dog?
Yes, and one main obstacle against these Binance listings and other Taiwan exchanges, once they see the volumes that we have right now, of course they won't list dog, because the volume is low. So you need to go somewhere to like best places, of course, right now Solana, generate a lot of hype and volume, and then the centralized exchanges may again consider listing, dog and other runes. So first you need to create a bit more of liquidity. And we also have seen that we don't need the centralized exchanges anymore. I mean, just take what happened with Trump with these like 500,000-600,000 addresses jumping on this token at the first day and all the volume. The centralized exchanges are not that important anymore. So going to decentralized exchanges on Solana and on Ethereum and these places where I have liquidity. Oh man, I'm just saying too much liquidity. So where you have a lot of liquidity, this was really not on purpose, I promise. So if you go to these large DEXs, you don't need the centralized exchanges anymore. I mean, we know that the Binance listing nowadays is almost like the most horrible thing that can happen to a token, because people will just dump and this is just going down. So DEXs are more important. Dog is going to the large DEXs on Solana and probably to other chains, and this will bring a lot of liquidity. And maybe we don't need to ask Binance anymore, because we already have a great trading experience and a lot of liquidity and price discovery on these chains.
The only thing I would add is be careful what you wish for, because often you get this kind of wider availability, and it just gives people an easier avenue to dump. So this may not be great for price appreciation. I'm just my gut is price does not necessarily rise once dog's tradable on Solana or on Base. So, just head on a swivel. Whether it brings new awareness, I'm sure it will. I think, just the ability of meme coin traders to just be able to buy, sell it. There's going to be a new wave of interest, which, that's the most important thing in my view, is getting more awareness to the token.
Some of the second order effects I think have been dismissed as well. For example, yesterday, virtuals launched on Solana, and within like 2 hours it was listed on Moonshot. Like, a lot of those applications that exist inside of these different ecosystems, just wait for that. It's kind of just like a sign of clarity or certainty that this team is embedded now in the ecosystem and they're committed, and it just shows a little bit of a vote of confidence for it. So I assume there's going to be a handful of things on Solana. I'm sure Base is a top one. Maybe this is Stack's opportunity to finally come in and capture some volume. Kind of interested to see where it goes. Adam, what do you think of all of the different chains? Do you think this just ends up as Solana, or do you think there could be potentially a dark horse that comes in and potentially capture some of that volume?
I can't imagine a dark horse, not for memes. It really feels like Solana's the winner. Even what happens on Base, so much of course it's hard to tell. So much is manipulated and fake. Really difficult to tell. It seems like Base does have the ability to hold price a little bit better, and so that's why I think like Eric was wise to do VVV on Base rather than on Solana. I think that was a wise choice, although it dumped anyway. But that's like another conversation. But it feels like Solana's the winner for memes. It's going to be hard for somebody to take that from them. Like really, really hard. Maybe impossible. Definitely not Stacks. I can say that with certainty. It's definitely not going to be Stacks.
There's potential, and maybe I'll present this. So from a cultural standpoint or a migrant standpoint, historically, when you see wrapped assets, the penetration rate is generally quite low. I mean, if you look at pups on Solana, I think it's less than 10%. From the Emblem side, looking at NFTs, generally like a very, very successful penetration rate is like 50%. Like if you get 50% of a collection or 50% of a fungible token bridged over to one ecosystem, or in this case, maybe multiple ecosystems, that is a very high rate of adoption. So, Chris, do you think with Leo's kind of sign off and then I guess his very loud megaphone that dog can reach somewhere maybe over 30% of tokens bridged to Solana base XYZ place?
Yeah, I mean, it just I don't know if it really matters, right? I think it's a midterm solution. I think it's a solution until the infrastructure kind of gets better. And like I said, it's really all about just meeting your customers where you are. There's a lot of times where I would never want to download a new wallet just to buy a singular asset, but I might like the asset. And so it's not up to the provider to discriminate what I buy that asset with or how I purchase it. Just get that asset in my hands and let me have it. And that's exactly what they're doing. So I think we just complicate this way too much in crypto, and it just give the people the option to buy the assets in as many ways and with as many currencies as possible. And as infrastructure providers like Emblem, that's the best position that we can possibly be in. We have that vision that chains are not going to matter in the forefront. Their properties matter in the background, but not everyone needs to know about them all of the time. If you were a Yahoo Mail user in the early days of the internet, you could only email between other Yahoo Mail users. And then Gmail and other infrastructure providers made it cross-protocol compatible so that you can email between email protocols. And that's what Emblem is for the cryptocurrency sector. You can trade assets between different blockchains without sacrificing the primary kind of assets and their kind of criteria for a different chain, but you can get the benefits of the new chain. So I just think we complicate it. I think that Dog is going to do what Dog was always going to do. It's going to expand the community. It's going to expand the community to new people, new users, and new wallets. And I think that that's the clear route that this whole industry is going. So instead of being a follower, they get to be a leader. And I only see that as a benefit.
Yeah, I think it's very exciting. And we also had the BRC 2.0 guys on yesterday as well, right? Benari from Best in Slot, and they also have interoperability kind of vision as well, and they've kind of built it into that protocol. It's just kind of an inevitability at this point. But from the cross-chain perspective, but from going from off-chain to on-chain, I don't know if you guys saw this morning, that Frank Templeton, which is one of the largest funds in the world, has moved to Solana as an RWA. They tokenized their money market fund on Solana. I think this is kind of a little bit of a hit to Ethereum, who had been commanding the majority of the RWA innovations, right, with BlackRock kind of backing Onyx. And I think there's a handful of other ones that have gone to ETH. This is the first major one that I've seen on Solana. So Chris, I want to pass off to you as as the in-house Solana expert. What's your take on real world assets, financial instruments moving on to Solana? And do you know if this is kind of the first major one on Sol or not?
I'm not sure. I think that Franklin Templeton's one of the biggest asset managers in the world, over $1 trillion in assets under management. Massive, one of the oldest funds in the world as well. I mean, we love to just like poke this competition between these chains, but the reality of the situation is they're going to have these tokenized assets on Ethereum. They're going to have them on Solana, and they're probably going to have them on Bitcoin and any other chain that will have them. That's like saying Franklin Templeton is also on the German stock exchange, as well as the American stock exchange and the Japanese stock exchange. Well, of course they are, because they want the distribution. It's literally actually the same conversation as the Dog conversation. You want to get your product in the hands as many end users as possible. And this is just another way of doing so.
It's actually a very good point. Now, that was actually unintentional leading into this, but it does make complete sense, right? This is just the Web 2 version or the TradFi version of the Dog conversation, where Dog is hey, we're moving off chain. From the dog perspective and some of the Bitcoiners, it was, hey, dog's moving off chain, but really they're just moving on chain to just as many chains as possible. And Frank Templeton's just trying to get on chain to as many as possible, right? They see Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Sui, whatever it is next as just another internet network with as many users. And the interesting component of crypto is that the average net worth distribution in crypto is quite large. Like you can have one chain that has 2,000 people, but 10% of that could be millionaires, right? And so for them, they don't really care. They're just trying to get it in hand as many people as possible. So shout out to them. Maybe real estate and some other stuff comes in the hands next. Adam, I know you used to work in Wall Street and your brother does as well. You think Chris has the right perspective here? Is Wall Street just trying to just get on as many chains as possible? They don't give a fuck about what anybody else has to say.
I think, yeah, they're just trying to make money, right? And if Solana, they feel like Solana is going to be the place to reach the most people, or the most people with money, or the most liquidity, they're just going to do that. And it may just end up being everywhere. I think that's the dream, right? Is that anybody can buy it anywhere at any time with any currency, right? That would be the ideal. It's so funny though. Like I just searched this, and it's all just scams. Like I can't even find the real one. Like where is it? I mean, that's how early we are. But I mean, the idea, this has been an idea. This has been kicking around since the start of crypto, right? I mean, it's like, how can you not be bullish with this? This is like what everybody's been talking about, and it's actually happening. And the market is just delayed and like thinking this is good. Like that's like we're so early to this transformation that it hasn't really hit, and we don't know where really the value is going to accrue. Is it going to accrue to Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana? We don't know the underlying layers that it's going to accrue to, but it will accrue. Like this is it, because the world's coming on board, and so can't be bearish on crypto right now, because this is massive. Like a decade ago, this was impossible to believe that this would happen, and here it is.
Here we are. Yeah, some other kind of interesting news from this week. I saw Layer 0 has, in terms of interoperability, has now added the TON network. So there's a bridge there. And also there was something yesterday with the Binance. Did you catch that yesterday, Adam, about something with Binance selling reserves or something like that? I didn't look into it deep, but I saw a bunch of people kind of throwing their arms up.
Supposedly it wasn't like anything to do with, user funds or anything like that. This is like their Binance's holdings, but they dumped like almost all their ETH or something like that. It was like, they said they were rebalancing their internal portfolio or something, but it was a lot of ETH they dumped. Yeah. So who knows? Hard to say.
So Binance
changes, they can do whatever they want, right?
So Binance is selling their ETH to Donald Trump with World DeFi. He seems to be the...
Well, yeah, WorldFi bought more ETH, and Binance is dumping their ETH. So who's the smart money? Got to go with Binance on that one. So, it doesn't make me feel great about my ETH bags. I'll tell you that.
I think that's overblown. I don't know. I mean, Binance rebalances all the time. I think that we've gone through this FUD storm like 10 different times from Binance.
Yeah.
And I mean, their main priority is to prop up BNB. They like BNB. It's used all throughout their ecosystem. They're not there to support any other chains except for BNB. And that's their main focus. And so anything that they can sell for BNB, they're going to at different points in time. And I just think that, I mean, this industry is so quick to call it quits. Like I said, Ethereum invented the smart contract. Vitalik was literally trying to innovate on Bitcoin, and it was so decentralized, and the community wasn't into that protocol changing very much. So he had to reconfigure an entire blockchain that had never been done before, and he pulled it off completely. And now people are bearish on him because the price isn't going up as quickly as they would like him to. Like, this is one of the most ridiculous things of all time.
Yeah. I should clarify that Binance also sold all of its SOL and like almost all of its Bitcoin too. So they sold like everything, right? So yeah, just to clarify, it wasn't just bearish kind of ETH. It was, like Chris said, it's sell everything, go to stables, and then be able to buy back BNB basically.
And just Ethereum's in a pretty good position, in my opinion, just to kind of branch off from there a little bit. A lot of, it's obviously reached the mainstream. It's hit critical mass. It has one of the biggest developer communities in the entire world. But one of the biggest underrated kind of factors that a lot of people in this industry don't understand is that it has liquidity. I mean, Solana is still a fraction of the size of Ethereum. And so if you're an asset manager and you want to put a couple $1 billion to work, it's almost impossible to even do it on Solana. You only have Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum. So, which is funny in retrospect, but one of the biggest bullish reasons to be positive on Ethereum is because it has deep enough liquidity that actually huge asset managers can trade it. That's another reason why gold is traded all over the world, because it has deep liquidity. You can get maybe not $1 trillion, but maybe $100 billion in and out. And so on some of these chains and some of these assets, they're just too small for anyone to care about. That was Bitcoin's problem forever too, before it got the ETFs. It was too small for any of these asset managers to actually care about, because they might be able to get some money in, but if that money makes any percentage gains, they can't get the money out. And so Ethereum's hit critical mass. It also has a huge advantage over Solana, where you can always pay more to get your transaction through. It might cost a massive amount of money, but you can get the transaction through. Solana, that's not actually possible. When the chain is backed up, it's completely backed up and no transactions are getting through, regardless of what you're paying. And so they have different use cases. They have different strongholds on different areas of the industry, but they're used for different things. And so this industry is just really quick to write off all these different narratives because it doesn't fit their price range at the time that they're complaining about it. So I don't know. I think that the industry is just in a good spot. Everyone's just upset that Bitcoin ran first and no one owned any Bitcoin. That's literally what I think is the biggest problem.
That's such a good point. Yeah, the Zoomers really occupied the mind share this cycle. I think it's really kind of distorted the reality of what's going on, because all the Bitcoiners are a little quiet. They've been pushed away by the Bitcoin Season 2 people, and they're all just getting rich, probably laughing.
And there's no guarantees in investing. And the market has a way of punishing people that think that their asset is guaranteed or their gains are guaranteed. And nobody was more smug and kind of cocky than the Ethereum community. They thought that they were the only one that would ever exist. They were going to flip Bitcoin. They were the only asset that mattered in the industry. That was a year ago. That was like maybe 18 months ago that they felt that way. And reality has a funny way of kicking you, right? And so that community has been through the ringer, as they should. They called the entire Solana community poor and useless. And look at what happened. The exact thing that they didn't want to happen. Now the .ETHs are dropping like crazy, probably just in time for the ETH rally. So funny to see. Funny to see.
Dogpile, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, just why is Binance selling all these things? I mean, BNB is not cool. Probably they want to scoop up all the dog on Solana. I mean, that's just it's just too obvious. I mean, the coincidence is too close. I mean, it's obvious they want to have a bit of money, just to scoop the dog. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I think people are right now just nervous because they think the cycle is over and whatnot. And the volatility is just a bit higher, and the direction is not there, right? So we are like sideways consolidating on Bitcoin, and everything is down. Or people are just like super nervous. So yeah.
Wait, Dogfather, you gotta tell us about your AI agent and the Cookie.fun hackathon. You gotta tell us what's up.
If that's okay, I can give you the whole story in like 30 seconds.
Story. I want to hear it, man.
Man, at the end, it's like I'm like, as a data analyst, I really love the product that Cookie has cooked up, because they screen the whole ecosystem, and also Hustle. We had this discussion with the high mindshare it achieved with a few tweets from the team and the holders. So I thought that's pretty interesting what they built. Then they had this hackathon, and it was like just asking a few friends whether they are interested, and then we were really hacking together something in a week just to have some MVP that is pulling, from the cookie API, some of their off-chain and on-chain data. And based on those signals, basically just an increase in mindshare, enough liquidity, a good price momentum. We just generated a list of suitable tickers that we then check their sentiment with their Twitter endpoint, running some rough LLM over that and picking the most positive ones. So more attention, but plus positive sentiment. And we bought some of those and had some trading algorithm at the end. So this is on Base and Arbitrum because we wanted to be in this Arbitrum track because there's hopefully not much competition. So this is now running and has this little Twitter bot. So if you want to support it, super cool to do that. Just go to my bio. It's Alia something, and then just click on that. And now we see what the hackathon outcome is. And we already talked to some people on how to fund that and how to to get that running. Yeah, but it's super early. I mean, really. Maybe we have some performance there, but since we started at the bottom, of course, the stuff we bought is up by, I don't know, 10, 15%. But, that was just smart, lucky timing from our side that we started entering some positions when everything was down. So, but yeah, every kind of like support by clicking on the follow button and is highly appreciated. Yeah.
How'd you guys?
Thanks for the minute.
How'd you guys build the AI agent? What did you use? AI16Z or ELIZA, or what'd you use?
Yeah, it's on ELIZA. So because one of these devs already had some experience over there, because in 1 week, as you know, this is impossible. If you start, I mean, it took them 2 days just to have that somehow running. So this is really a beast. It's open source, but it's a beast until it's running. Ask Shannon. So it's really not much fun. So that's over there. And I mean, my ultimate end goal would be to have something like that on Bitcoin. But obviously, then this is even more complicated, more customized stuff you have to do. But let's first look what the hackathon outcome is. I tried to make a bit of noise that we are in this mindshare map, at least in the top 10 among all these projects that participated in the hackathon. There were roughly 80 that submitted, and 37 or so are on this cookie fund page. So they already had some Twitter account. And some of those projects were already relatively large with some tokens out there with market cap of 20 million plus. So they probably started a bit earlier than this hackathon. So yeah, there are some teams that really started there, and we are among of them. And yeah, it was a huge learning experience for me to tip the toes into the AI agent water.
I just pinned your agent up top there so people can follow what she's up to.
Nice. Thanks a lot. So yeah, a bit of mindshare would help because the judges are probably looking at 80 projects, and if they also have a look at the mindshare map, what is actually flying, then at least they see us, and maybe it helps a bit in getting some attention, some money that the devs continue working. You know how that works. Devs need to eat too. So and these guys will only continue building if there's some positive signals in terms of a bit of funding, a bit of recognition, and the like.
Nice. Well, Dogfather, while you were talking, I just minted my Mega ETH Fluffle.
Oh, is that
Have
going
you guys
on
been following
today?
that?
Is that today?
The first come first serve thing just opened up. I was one of the people who were in. I guess
Right.
there was like a random, they had to do like a random number generator. I don't know if you were following that. Have you guys been following this at all?
Just at the beginning. So this is the one where it's 10,000 NFTs. They're soul bound, right? But then you own whatever. Those 10,000 own 5% or 6% of whatever this blockchain is that they're building.
Yeah. So this is probably the most popular or the hottest L2 on Ethereum in a while. I'm gonna be honest, and it's kind of crazy to even say this, that I think a lot of it's actually driven by Bread Guy, who's been kind of like the lead kind of figure there.
Sure.
I put this post out the other day, and it's kind of interesting to see where crypto marketing is heading to. For a while it was meme marketing, and I think with Kaido, it's been kind of reinforcing this like mindshare marketing. And he's been a top 15 account by mindshare for the last like few months. And it looks like they're probably going to mint out all 10,000 for 1 ETH each. So the enterprise marketing value of a top 20 crypto Twitter account could potentially be $30 million, which I think is kind of wild to think about kind of how distorted that can really get. It's like, you don't even need to do these KOL cabals. It's just you just have one person who gets a lot of attention, and it's not like the KOL cabals are mostly like fake engagement. This is like actual trust that's measured now through Kaido. And the fact that I think he is like one of the guys on the team here, and he joined within the last like 6 months, that can really kind of reinforce and drive these other people to mint, and that they actually use something pretty smart to where they use the Kaido mindshare board. And I think they gave out a whitelist to like the top 1,000 accounts. Mine was included. Adam, I think were you in that one too?
I forgot I voted for the wrong one. I realized. I went back in. I was like, which one did I vote for? I voted for some other one. I remember. Man, I just hit vote. I didn't even know what I was voting for. Just whatever. Yeah. Okay. This one. I didn't vote for that one. So my loss, man. My loss.
So they, where was I? Oh, so they went and they took like all the people who voted for Mega ETH. I think it was like 1,000 people or something, and they gave those people part of the first come first serve, and it was like 80,000 wallets. But then they had to do a random number generator for 5,000 of them that were 1 ETH each. So I think they ended up raising like 7,500 ETH or something like that. So to me, it's just kind of showing that the market is being a little bit more mature and strategical about, you know, these mint outs and different things like that, right? We talked ad nauseum every day for a year about how to do this like Emblem Vault, runes, migration, mint kind of thing. And here they're using an SBT to basically, once you mint it, you get this SBT with this piece of art, and it's minted to your wallet, so you can't transfer that. And I'm assuming then on this chain, they're going to allocate at least 5% of the total token for the L2 to these wallets. They said it could extend and become more, but I assume, this is why I was kind of interested in it, is that you could see other protocols in the network, like in the app chain kind of network of this, also just airdropping stuff to these SBT wallets, because it never changes. And so that's kind of why I was interested. I think the FTV of this round is like a $500 million FTV. So, you know, how much higher can it really go for an L2? 2, 3, 4x? I don't really know. But if it takes off and is competitive as these kind of like niche L2s in the space, it seemed like something kind of interesting. So I liked the marketing purely off of this like InfoFi trend that's happening, but will it be successful? I have no idea, to be honest.
Right. The thing that, I mean, I think I commented when it first kind of happened, and I saw, you know, Beanie and I don't know, Art Chick and like the traditional, like, you know, KOLs immediately tweeting, oh, this is a no-brainer. And I was like, wow, that actually was like, whoa, what's going on here? But then you realize the strategy was really quite brilliant, right? Which is basically you get the top, you know, 1,000 influencers on Twitter are all going to be able to mint this first. It's a great strategy, and so hats off to these guys or Brad, whoever came up with it. It was quite brilliant.
Yeah, from a strategy standpoint, leaning into the InfoFi kind of sector of it. So these are the mint. So 5,000 whitelists that were 1,000 or 1 ETH each, 1,500 that were free, and I guess they're doing 5,000 more later or something like that. I don't know, but they didn't do a VC round, which I think was kind of interesting. The first round they did was actually on Echo, which we used Echo as well. We sold 10% of the founder vaults on Echo in Paths kind of group. And so I know Kobe was like a participant in this as well as some other people. So this might be actually like kind of the new strategy forming is you go to Echo for the first kind of round of the tokens. And they're not VCs, right? They're just individual investors. It's kind of interesting going through the process. Maybe we'll do a space about it one day. And then you go and then you do a little bit of a higher round to the public. And this is pretty much what we did, right? We did the Echo round at 6 million FDV, and then the round right after that was 9 million FDV. So felt 50% higher. Here from the numbers, from what I've seen, I don't know for sure. It was like 150 I saw was the Echo round, and then here they did 500 million afterwards so a little bit of a higher round. But will the community, will the crypto community adopt this kind of new type of ICO method where there is no technical VCs, right? There's no lockups, there's no equity exchange, it's just pure tokens, and they're going about it. Chris, what's your take on it? I know you love kind of the fundamental analysis and ICOs and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're just a token industry, and people want tokens. They're easily liquidated. They're liquid all over the world. You don't have to have these like kind of compliance standards, jurisdiction, region by region. So I just think that it's kind of a better model. And I think that, we talk about ICOs and kind of that era coming back. And I think that that's what people really want. Like we talk about, what's different from this cycle. And it's that meme coins, they actually got so big. They were like such a big use case that they overshadowed all of the different tech that was being built in this industry. And they sucked up so much capital, which is fine. But that's not all that the industry has to offer. And so platforms like Echo make it possible to kind of find and source some of these deals and kind of get back to where this industry started, which was, a technology layer of the internet. And I think that part of that kind of fulfillment and that kind of feeling of being early and investing in the next frontier of technology is kind of what's been missing this cycle. And I think that platforms like Echo and maybe a refurbished ICO era might get us kind of back to that kind of ethos.
Boomers are going to absolutely love it when they can participate in illegal means, right? We talked about this last week as well, just the fundamental analysis, the things they're familiar with, right? Because when you look at it, I've been thinking about this a little bit deeply. So like last cycle in 2021, it was kind of primarily driven by millennials. It was like people like we're familiar with the collectible space, right? Because most of our parents, they're millennials. We're all kind of like hoarders, and we grew up with Pokemon cards and Game Boys and all these different types of Pogs, right? All these different types of mementos. So we knew kind of really how to trade that. And so that's why you saw a lot of millennials really dominating. The cycle before that in 2017, it was a lot of kind of Gen X people, kind of people leaving the traditional fund space, opening up their own crypto VC or hedge fund. And right, they kind of knew, granted it was just white papers and dreams, but there was a little bit of familiarity there. Where this cycle, it's meme coins. And obviously Gen Z has just been completely dominating it because they know how to create this feedback loop of live streaming for attention and playing these kind of attention games to then feed it to these tokens that then eventually kind of pump and right. And then they also know how to really deal with controversy pretty well, or ignore controversy, I guess is kind of right. And so I do think that really the traditional FI boomer generation really hasn't got to participate in it. And so I just try to think about, what is something that's really going to be familiar to them to where they feel like they have the edge here. And I think it's ICOs is really because they've been doing it for decades at this point in time. And so, of course, right, the TradFi is going to want to come in and feel like they have the edge. And so they're going to participate in kind of where they feel like that is. And I think it's utility tokens, ICOs, and kind of this new version of whatever it is that's implemented kind of 6 months from now. Dogfather, what you think?
I mean, another dimension that's also super important, particularly in super highly regulated countries, is that, I mean, the just talk to an entrepreneurial friend. They just did their second round. I mean, the amounts they spent on lawyers and all of these things is like crazy. I mean, it takes a lot of time. extremely expensive. I mean, it was like 200K or so just on these legal fees and whatnot. This is insane. I mean, and just to save all the time and money, and then you just drop a token, and if you have a smart tokenomic, and if you have some product market fit with your offering, this saves you so much headache, and you're not giving away that much control as well. I mean, having a VC, at the cap table is just a different thing than just having tokens out where you don't share control, and they don't ask for a dividend and whatnot. So I mean, if you can finance your company and your project with tokens, of course you go for tokens.
Completely liquid. One final note here before we do wrap it up. Kind of interesting, subtle, taking shots at each other in the Bitcoin kind of space, magic internet money. It's been kind of amusing to see this. They announced yesterday a few things. Well, first, the migration is actually on my birthday, 6 days from now. So that'll be cool. Magic internet money's coming to Bitcoin. Maybe it sparks some more interest in runes, right? Yeah, people forget like Ansom's a big holder of Wizard, as well as a few posts, and people just completely forget about all the arguments over the last month. The Bitcoin Wizard or Wizardry group, I guess, announced a CEO, Nomad. I don't think anyone knows who this person is. I've seen some people even saying that Nomad potentially could be Mavenspot. Potentially, they could be the same person. Apparently, it was the person who created the Magic Internet Money name, and Nomad, or I guess Mavenspot's the one who created the wizard itself. I don't know if you saw earlier this week where Udi had come out and said that he believes that ordinals should have a high mint price and that it's for high value assets, and right, that if you're minting for free, it's not going to have sustainability. Well, the Bitcoin Wizardry group came out and said they're minting a 10K PFP collection of wizards, and it's going to be for free. And they said actually that they're going to stop the grifting.
Will likely be for free.
I
don't know. When I read that, I was like, oh boy, what is going on here, man?
Subtly, are they subtly taking shots at Udi and Taproot Wizards, who took they took the wizard, which it was CCO, and kind of built their own brand and raised now $38 million. And they said, here, we're going to do it for free with the migration. Is this a do you think this will be a hot collection? Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm a huge Wizard fan. I've been a Wizard holder I've been a larger Wizard holder for a while, since like 60 cents. It's kind of like one of the only runes that I've held. It's one of the true Bitcoin native memes that any Bitcoiners can kind of get behind. I think that was part of the runes community, is that it was missing the creativity and kind of the actual Bitcoin culture. Like, the dog community is great, but it's extremely generic, and it was purposefully generic, right? But that doesn't mean that it aligns with the Bitcoin culture. So I think, I'm pretty bullish on it. It's literally one of the only tokens, one of the only meme coins that's dropped by the actual meme coin artist, the creator of the meme coin. I don't think that Nomad created the Magic Internet Money slogan. I think it was like Eric Voorhees or something. But I think that Nomad's been a pretty controversial character in that community for a long time. And I think that their whole kind of act is just being like mega trolls, and just like being the extreme level of internet trolls. And that's kind of what Bitcoin started as well. It's like embedded within the culture, right? So I think it's going to pump some life into the runes community and into just the Bitcoin ecosystem in general. And I think that that's much needed, because it's obviously been fragmented. But like I said, it's not as much about the technology layer or anything like that. It's really just about like the creativity and leveraging the strengths of Bitcoin and things of that nature. And so it's always been, in my opinion, I talk about it all the time, more of a price problem than an actual technology problem. I'm a firm believer that tokens on every chain are inevitable. And I think that runes are the best implementation of that on Bitcoin. So I think that this is another point for me towards that kind of end goal, and saying that you know, a lot of the problems with runes again are just short-sighted, and it's just building an actual organic and natural community there. You know, you have Dog that's around like 300 million market cap. This is a Bitcoin native meme, the first Bitcoin meme, and it's at like 80 million market cap.
What's
maybe
that, 80? How low did it go recently, or is that like the bottom?
probably around like 50 million. It was probably somewhere around the bottom. But you have a good shot at this becoming the #1 meme on Bitcoin pretty quickly here. So I've been bullish on it for a long time, and I think that this is the timing is good, and I continue to be super bullish.
What if they do something really crazy and they like, okay, here it is. You can migrate your BRC20, but we're going to migrate it to Solana.
Well, I think that what it is I think that it's the mint is free for whitelisters. I think you probably get Wizard whitelist from holding Wizard, a certain amount of Wizard. So likely free, meaning it's likely free for
right. You gotta hold a certain amount.
You have to hold a certain amount of Wizard. So that's probably the alpha. If you're interested in getting a Wizard, a Magic Internet Money Wizard, I would hold some Wizard.
What does this do to Udi's Taproot Wizards? I mean, does this make them a zero? I mean the Wizards aren't even really out, you know, and it seems like this would just completely screw the Taproot Wizard hype whenever that might happen again.
It's interesting, right? And so I don't know. I think that Udi is a fan of. I mean, obviously he's a fan of Mavin's, the founder, and we'll have to see what that does to that collection. But he has to get to market. I think that they've been building that thing for like over 2 years at this point, right? So, I mean, if he hasn't gone to market yet, I don't know what's stopping him. But he also kind of diluted himself a bit with Quantum Cats. So this is strengthening the case for the Bitcoin Wizards for sure, in my opinion.
Well, there was some chatter on the timeline that basically Udi's, you know, buying up all the Quantum Cats, basically providing an artificial floor for him. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. It's funny though that people would give him shit for that, because that's exactly what people ask us to do, or ask everybody to do. I mean, literally, whatever. In bells, Adam, when are you going to buy more bells? Support this floor. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you talking?
Adam, take money out of your wallet and give it directly to the community. You don't have to buy the
I mean, I guess, you know, Udi and them have so much money. Maybe they do that. You know, maybe they do use investor funds to buy up their floor to artificially support the price. But I don't know. Seems illegal to me in some way. But
the top 5 ordinal collections, Quantum Cats is 1, Node Monkeys 2, OMB 3, Puppets have fallen to 4. Wow. And then OCM is a new one at 5. The OCM floor is 36 million. And then even if you go to 7, 8, 9, or you have Runestone, Bitmap, Bitcoin Frogs are kind of right after that. And then Bitcoin Wizards, which gets the airdrop, and then Pizza Ninjas. Could we see a timeline where this 10K Bitcoin Wizards collection overshoots or maybe breaks it into the top 3 while Magic Internet Money can take out Dog at #1? Do we think that's a possibility? You kind of have the similar dynamic with Runestone and Dog, where I think Runestone got to #2 at one point while Dog's just maintained #1 since it dropped. This could be, you know, this is a competition here where it's free. Both was free to inscribe Wizard was free. And then I guess to mint will be free. That was the same thing with Dog and Runestone. So following the similar method there. Bitcoin Puppets was near free. It was like, I think it was like $10 or $20 or something like that. And then the airdrop was to all the Bitcoin Puppet holders as well. So.
Yeah, but this is just like a liquidity event for the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. You know, people are going to get multiple Wizards. They're going to sell some of them. Maybe they wanted a Bitcoin Puppet. Kind of just adds different layers to it. And this is all just tokenized culture. And the Bitcoin Wizard is the biggest, you know, singular piece of Bitcoin culture that exists today. You know, it's always been the Magic Internet Money. And it's always been the Bitcoin Wizard. That was the mascot of the entire chain.
Yep. Dualism.
Yeah, he froze up.
Oh, damn.
Dogfather, what's up, man?
Yeah, if I look at the ordinals collections that are now on top, none of them is new, right? I mean, all these newcomers in the last, I mean, since Pizza Ninjas, nothing really could climb to the top. So we still have like these OMBs, puppets, and node monkeys and the like over there. I think every new 10K collection will have a very, very hard time competing with these already existing communities if you don't bring fresh momentum, fresh money from other chains. So I think it will be very hard. Same for any new rune or migrated rune over. Right now, it's super hard to climb and to attract liquidity, eyes, attention. So I don't think this will happen. I mean, of course, if Udi really brings the Taproot Wizards over, that's a different thing. But then maybe this is just shifting from the cat to the wizard. So I don't know whether the Quantum Cats keep their valuation once the real Genesis collection is out that everyone wants. Then they can buy as many cats as they want. Let's see. But I'm skeptical. I think it's relatively stable right now.
I'm interested. Bring some life back to us. Just everything and anything. That's a good conversation. We did pin to the top our hustle paper that we dropped yesterday. Just going through everything about what's about to come. We're actually probably maybe a week or so away from launching this new V2 product, trading meme coins with AI and doing all kinds of fun stuff, as well as eventually adding Bitcoin and EVM support. But we're launching with Solana. So if everyone could do a favor and repost that at the top, that would be greatly appreciated so that everyone can see what is going on in the cool world of Agent Hustle and AI times Emblem. Well, maybe we'll cover a little bit more of it tomorrow. Please make sure that you follow the Emblem account so you can stay up to date with everything that we're doing. We host a show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Yeah, we didn't even cover AI today. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow's show. All Bitcoin ecosystem today and some macro stuff. Even I saw the Doge or the Department of Government Efficiency yesterday saw that to retire somebody, they have to go to the fucking line.
Go into the mine, bro.
They got to go into the mines, and Elon Musk was calculating that it takes like 10 minutes to retire one government employee because of how fast the elevator goes up and down or slow. Wild times, to say the least. And we'll be back tomorrow to talk about even more wild times. Until then, everyone have a good and safe Wednesday. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Take care.